Board. Hello, I'm Sarah Bearup-Neal, Gallery Manager of the Glen Arbor Arts Center. Today I'm in conversation with poet Paul Stebelton, part of a series of conversations with practicing artists about their encounters with creative block. Landmark Books, located at the Commons in Traverse City, is owned by Paul Stebelton, a published author who began collecting books in college. Paul is a Hopwood Award and Gwendolyn Brooks Award winner, the author of multiple volumes of poetry, broadsides, screenplays. There's a novel in progress, there's children's books, and he's published an aptly named chapbook called Writer's Block. Paul's worked in the book business for more than 20 years as a bookseller at both independent and major book chains. He began selling used books in 1994 and opened Landmark Books in 2013. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
When you're stuck, what does that mean?
When you're stuck, it means you're not able to do the creative process that you're used to doing. It prevents you from even sitting down in front of a piece of paper and scribbling things down. Mm-hmm. It's probably the worst thing an author can go through.
Do you think working through creative block is required and necessary?
I've had different successes with trying to write through it. It's sometimes one of those things you just have to wait for the right moment to come along to be inspired, and that little spark can sometimes get you out of it. I was able to write for the first time in 3 months yesterday, and I was able to write a couple of drafts of a couple of poems, and it sometimes just takes something to come along in your life that will jolt a memory, or and that happened yesterday. So
this has been a particularly hard time for a lot of people who do creative work, between the challenges of dealing with the pandemic. There's the overlay of a lot of world events that are distracting. How have those things played into your not being able to write for a while?
That's well said. That's exactly why I'm experiencing issues with it. It has nothing to do with family life or work. It's because there's so much turmoil in the world going on right now, not only with the political side of it, but with the cultural and social issues going on. And we have issues too with the COVID. It's tough when you think about how many people are dying every day, and how many people's lives are being affected, and how callous the administration that's currently in place is looking at things. It really makes it difficult to sit in front of a computer, or sit in front of a typewriter, or sit in front of a journal and look into the vast whiteness of the page and try to pull anything out.
Is it have anything to do with, do you feel like your writing is a frivolous exercise in light of all these catastrophic events taking place? Or is it an energy sapper?
It's an energy zapper. And unfortunately, if I don't feel like I have a quality idea in mind, I won't sit in front of the blank page and try to do something. It's not worth my time. I have a limited amount of time which I can devote to my art to begin with, and if I'm not going to be productive, then that just makes you feel worse. So I've been avoiding it. Like I was saying, though, yesterday, I finally sat down. I got up the courage to actually sit down and do it. And I was able to create a couple of things. But that's been the first time in 2 or 3 months that I've been able to do that.
Hmm. You have a chapbook called Writer's Block.
Hmm.
And I think that's just about the coolest thing that we could be talking about, especially because of the story behind it. So give us a recap of how this 2018 chapbook came about.
Well, I was experiencing writer's block again. It's something that happens quite often to writers, and I was looking for something to write to take to my workshop. I've been involved in a writing workshop for over 20 years, and it's always looked out upon, frowned upon if you don't show up to the workshop if you show up without a poem. And so I sat down and I wrote, the first thing I wrote was writer's block. And I thought, well, that's what I'm experiencing. What is writer's block? How would I express what that is to
Mhm.
somebody that doesn't go through the creative process, so that they might be able to understand what that is. And that's where the first poem came from. And then it was so well received in the group that it was suggested I should write more of them. So that's how the chapbook was envisioned, was taking those poems and putting them together. So
Nothing like being able to capitalize on your anxiety and grief.
I think that sometimes for an artist, it's very cathartic to do that.
Why do you think your colleagues in your writing group responded so well?
It's an experience that every writer goes through, and it's a universal. And but the way everyone experiences it and gets out of it is completely subjective. Everyone's going to go through it differently. But I've this was my way to get out of it at that time. So
The person I think of from the writing world who's made an entire personality and name around her writer's block is Fran Lebowitz.
yes.
She's built an entire persona around that. But other than Fran Lebowitz, I don't think of writer's block being the subject of many writers' scribblings.
Well, for some, it's like mentioning the word snow. If you say that word in northern Michigan, you're going to see it. So if you mention the word writer's block, it's like dooming yourself.
You don't want to bring it on.
No, it's just one of those things you don't talk about.
I'd like to know if you would read us a poem from writer's block.
Sure, sure. I'll read you this was the poem that actually got it started. The poem is entitled What I Saw in the Pig's Eyes. Writer's block is a barricade, some detour that meanders, shuffle steps, but it's no dance, just 20 miles of single lane road, me and the other poor suckers struggling at 25 miles per, wipers try to clear the absence, to clear the obscene cloud, the shitstorm of crappy ideas jotted in journals at 2 a.m., words brilliant in low-watt light, viewed in daylight are amateur hour rants, best left on the restrooms above the urinal next to call Susie Q for a good time. I'm searching for the on-ramp, the line that will lead me in, stuck behind a semi-tractor trailer hauling pigs to slaughter. He's doing 5 miles under the posted limit. Maybe he knows something. I can see the pigs' asses through the trailer slats. Roll my window up to avoid the smell. Writer's block is a single radio station that comes in on my radio playing a single song over and over. Between plays, a DJ squawks about how long my delay on the road will be, tells listeners about the artist, trivia about the song, a song I had never heard of, and think my life would still be complete without it. Still, I know I know it all. Everything about the singer, their bass player's suicide attempt, guitarist's messy divorces, drummers drumming. They had three of them, three guys keeping the time, keeping the stool warm as the song charted, climbed, peaked, and fell. It's raining now. A flashing sign tells me only 18 miles left. Watch for delays. The semi shifts gears as the water collects on the roadway. Smoke rolls from the stacks. The pigs are now watching me. Snouts poke through. My headlights reflect in their eyes. The pigs seem to know what this ride means. I turn the radio off, roll the window down, let the cool exhaust-filled air in, welcome the rain as the drops fly in. I can see it, the on-ramp, put my turn signal on, apply my brakes. I'm the only one getting off. I watch the pigs, watch the semi as our paths diverge until they've passed out of sight.
I'm really interested that you used driving and highway as such a strong metaphor in that. One of the things that I think so successful about that particular poem is you seized on some really visual metaphors that everybody can lock onto. But talk about the driving on the highway end of it.
Well, when I was originally taught about poetry, I was taught that a poem needs a good on-ramp and a good off-ramp. And then the rest in between is just driving along. So that's kind of what I was trying to do there is I'm driving, I'm looking for that on-ramp. If I can find that on-ramp, then the rest I can do it. I can find my way through the rest of it. But it's just searching for that on-ramp, that sentence, that line that's going to get your poem started.
So earlier in our conversation, you said to speak the name of the Black Beast is sometimes an opportunity to invite it into your life. Yet all these poems about writer's block didn't have that effect. So tell us, in what ways did these poems help you?
Well, at the time, I was lacking subject matter to write about. And so after creating the first poem, it just began to be a test of, like Richard Brautigan did a series or a book called Trout Fishing in America, and trout fishing in America became a metaphor in the book for many different things. Mm-hmm. So I did the same thing. I took writer's block as a metaphor for all these other things that I wrote poems about. I wrote one of the poems in the chapbook is about writer's block being like a divorce. One of them is a poem where the words are actually a log jam, and you have to undo the log jam to get the words and phrases in order. So it just became a fun exercise to see how many different ways I could use writer's block as a metaphor.
Tell everyone what's on the cover of the chapbook of writer's block. What's the dominant picture on the front? Oh,
it's a cinder block, which it's what, to me, it completely, it's what I envision as writer's block as an actual form. It is a big gray cinder block that you can't get through it. So
I think it's a well-chosen image and a well-chosen object. So I guess the big question here is, do you think writer's block serves any kind of creative purpose?
For me, it did. And I was able to get, 4 or 5 poems out of it. I actually wrote another one last night. So it's given me something as a diversion from writing poems or thinking about politics, or writing poems and thinking about death. And so it's given me at least something that I can look at and maybe have a chuckle. And so
I think you ought to put your flag in that turf and claim it as your own.
well, it's something I could do.
The United Emirates of Paul. I had the best time searching out my copy of Writer's Block, which ultimately you needed to send to me. But if someone would like to have their own copy, how would they get that?
It's available at Landmark Books. It's published by Squirrel Cane Press, which is the publishing arm of Landmark Books. And it's available there. You can also get a couple of my other chapbooks. You can get Grandma Returns to Earth. You can get short order poems. Short order poems is along the same lines as Writer's Block, but they're all poems about working in food service or working in restaurants. So that's kind of fun. There's even a haiku in there, I think, about the McRib sandwich.
Oh, God. I love how you come up with a theme and build a body of work around it.
I'm also a graphic designer, and it's kind of one of those things where we try to put something together where the art matches the poem and the tone and style.
But you've been entirely successful. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you.
Paul, what's your website so people can find you?
Sure. The website is landmarkbookstc.com. So
We'll also have that information on the website along with this.
You can also visit us on Facebook as well. And Squirrel Cane Press has a Facebook page as well. We're getting ready to publish a postcard from our haiku contest winner from North Carolina this year. So that'll be out, so you'll see stuff on there about that. Excellent.
You've been busy in this time of pandemic.
Trying to do things to keep because idle hands. They talk about idle hands, so we try to make sure we're keeping the hands busy.
Excellent. Paul, thanks for sharing your experience, and thanks to everyone else who's listened in. So until next time, see you later. Bye-bye.